Now we press next. And next is big. Next is fun. Next is amazing. I would like to give a story again. Story in my local community where in the afternoon the dogs from every homestead are barking. And the barking is not normal. And so the young boys will get out with bows and arrows. And they will be led by the very same dogs to a known location. But as they approach the enemy, the barking becomes fierce. And so the men in the homes realize that those bows and arrows are not enough. We must go out with swords because it could be a very dangerous enemy. But the interesting bit here is the women, when they see the men out, they start to prepare water and what the sufuria, the frying pans and the knives. Because they can sense we have a kill and tonight we will have meat. And later on, they find there's a deer, it's been killed, and there's a fireplace. And what happens in that fireplace? The hooves are roasted first to reward the dogs for their good work. And then each community, each villager gets home with a good kill. When it comes to ethics and the values that we hold, you could see how deeply rooted they are in our culture. We have looked at the collective mode and responsibility of where we come from and how we move this to the organization plays a key role in how we are going to change the narrative around business ethics and the values that we share. Ben Africa has known these great men, and he's been a great friend. And it's not just about being a friend, but consistency in making sure that our activities have that narrative not lost. This is a man who has been a CEO of institutions in Africa, and he has led young people to appreciate the values irrespective of what they think. This is a man who respects diversity and a man who believes that besides being a CEO, he can walk around with anyone in the organization and uplift them. Leadership is about modeling, because it's through modeling that we make the younger generation appreciate that they too can be leaders of tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, this morning, the Baobab Award 2023 goes to none other than Malik Melamu. Please let's all be standing and appreciate this wonderful man. You are. Make sure my nails are not taking center stage. Oh, lovely. Oh, okay.
Thank you, Yvonne, and thank you all for the applause. Yeah, very humbled when I got the message from Brian I must say I was a bit stunned. I was actually in the middle of a meeting when I read your email. But very, very humbling indeed. So Carolyn mentioned something that we all should start with. I mean, we do thank our parents, and I'll come back to that a bit later when we talk about values. But I also would like to thank a place where I've grown up step by step, and that's the Ethics Institute. I remember 2008, I went there and had my first learning to become an ethics officer. And I think that's besides the values that I have in me, I think that's where the fire was lit. And it is a fire now, so I'd like to thank the Ethics Institute. I'm also sitting as a non-executive director on their board, so I guess there's some wisdom that's come over time. I'd also like to thank Ben Africa and my dear friend Yvonne, because Yvonne also, the work I do, I can tend to get carried and preoccupied in my normal job, but there's a little mosquito that always reminds me, remember you belong to Ben Africa as well. So I'd like to thank you for keeping me honest. You know, when Carolyn mentioned parents and she thanked her parents, I would have to do the same as well. I've had a lot of discussions with Yvonne when we talk about Ubuntu and what change we need to make in the ethics narrative. And it's something that I've been talking a lot about recently, because she gave the story about hunting and the sharing. And I remember when I got assigned to be the CEO in MTN Benin, and I remember arriving in Benin and going on a tour with the driver along the coast. And most West African coastlines, you'll see groups of people pulling on a rope. So I told the driver, stop, what's going on there? And men, women, old, young, children, they're all pulling on a rope. This happens in the afternoon. So I said, we're going to observe what's going on here. So they're all pulling in a net, and the net comes in full of fish, and everybody who's been pulling has a little bowl. And they all come and everybody gets a share of the catch. And I observed that. Some months later, I was doing a talk about ethics to state-owned enterprises in Benin, and the comment kept coming up, you're talking to us about ethics, Malik, but you know, we have a culture of corruption here in West Africa. And I said, no, you don't. And then I told them the story about what I've observed with the fishing. I say, everybody's participating there, you pull in the net, everybody shares. In an environment where everybody shares, is there a foundation for corruption? No. How long have people been doing that in your country? They say for centuries. I say, so that's your culture. But it's very strange that in your village, that's how people are behaving. But the same people, when during the day when they're at the office, they start doing untoward things. So I'm saying, for me, that's a challenge to the academics in the ethics world, is that maybe we're teaching ethics at a level that's missing the point in our continent. So we come and we're teaching ethics to people who we feel they're in a country which has a culture of corruption. And so we teach. The teaching comes out as rules and regulations and codes of ethics, but nothing changes. We still keep having scandals. I wonder, in my mind, I don't have the answer, but I wonder and say, if someone comes from a background and a culture that I described in Benin, where naturally they share, is there not a way we can find our teachings to be founded on that? And they might hit the heart, and we might get different results. It's a question that I'm still, well, one spoke about the sharing of the deer. I was just telling Yvonne another story and say I've spoken to some young people about customer service. These are people who work in our shops. And everyone says we should bring a consultant to come and teach them. We need to improve the customer service, right? And then I asked the consultant a question. I said, how long have you been in Africa? He said, 32 years. I said, so you know a lot of families in our continent? Yes, in different countries. When you go to their home, whichever country it is, how are you received? They treat you like a king. Everyone's so welcoming. And this is what I'm describing to these young people. Then I asked them, in your home, if I should come to your home, how will I be received? They give the exact same description. You'll be welcomed like you're a king. I said, why? I said, because they say that's the status, our family. We're proud to be known as someone who's welcoming and that. And I said, but you say young people, you do that at home, how much do you get paid to do it at home? They said, 0. That's exactly how we live. It's our status. I said, but when I put you in a shop to welcome customers, you sit, you go, and you don't help customers, and you're paid for it. I said, isn't that strange? And the whole room went, But I'm using that as an example to say maybe sometimes we're teaching people from the wrong level. So a consultant will come and they'll come there and say, right, I'm going to teach people here who don't know much about customer service. And they start teaching and all the theory. And you come back a couple of months later, they're still the same way in the shop. But if you can prick on that thing that makes them do it for free at home, you might well be more successful. My little story and my journey will continue to find answers to that. I thank you all for listening. I thank you for the word. And I certainly will keep the light burning because I think we need it in our country. But from what I've described, just remember that the discourse that we see now almost tells us that we're hopeless people. But if you listen to the stories I'm giving you, all of you can imagine growing up in the township, growing up on a farm, growing up wherever. You can imagine and relate to what I'm saying. We are actually very good people, all of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Special message from Professor Dion. He said, congratulations, and it's well deserved. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to take this opportunity and welcome Brian for the next session. Thank you.
Sorry, I just wanted to say thank you very much to Dr. Yvonne Katumba for doing it so eloquently, and I love the way you portray the stories. And Malik, you brought in the storytelling as well, which is just so impactful and important. So thank you so much, and just personal congratulations to you as well as to Carolyn online. Thank you.